Rousseau's social contract theory stated that everyone under this type of voluntary contract should have equal rights, duties, and that no one is above the law. Everyone who gives up their rights will be protected by the government, the highest and most moral power. However, there have been many cases in the history of our nation where groups of people fall out of the social contract. When this occurs, those people are still giving up their rights, but they are no longer protected by the government. One example of this is given by Martha Nussbaum's work entitled Objectification. When explaining the objectification of women, Nussbaum states that Playboy is one big cause. Playboy takes away connections between sex, self-expression, and emotion. Nussbaum says it displays women as if they were cars. They were only for pleasure. Their emotions and feelings are not taken into account. Man does not have to recognize woman's autonomy. Under the social contract, one has to be seen as a person to receive its protection, and other things that make the contract valuable. Women often fall out of the social contract, lose its protection, and are not treated the same as those that are included. This often happens at the hands of those who are included in the social contract. Men's attitudes towards women were one of the reasons why they were objectified. Another example is shown in the movie Bastards of the Party. This film explains the struggles of blacks in the 1900s. From this film, it can be understood that many of the crimes and stereotypes associated with blacks were ways of survival in the 40s and 50s and 60s. When blacks first moved to white neighborhoods, they were abused, and so they formed gangs and other movement groups to fight back, to get rid of racial lines, and as a form of protection from whites. This resulted in some acts of violence, forming many of the stereotypes and pushing blacks further from the social contract. Blacks later gained more individuality, but were still not fully included in the contract. They were still living in all-black neighborhoods, not given the same amount of care from government officials, and were seen as a violent and unwanted group of people. Those in the contract were often the cause of certain groups falling out. The objectification and treatment of different races are a few examples. These groups were not considered people, and to be fully protected under the contract, one must be seen as a person. Laws created to exclude certain groups often resulted in stereotypes and attitudes being formed, which continued to exclude them from the idea of the social contract.